Hello and welcome to News Desk with me, Kemini Nyamani. Emmanuel, this morning on the program, all 83 senior high schools in the northern region have partially reopened school by admitting only final year students. We'll speak with the Ghana Education Service on this and some of our reporters on the ground. And then again, the Presidential Special Operations Task Force is urging agents, companies, entities and individuals to report people who claim to be clearing goods at the ports of the country for the president or using the presidency to clear their goods. We'll get in touch with the spokesperson for the task force on what they have achieved so far. Again on the program this morning, over 100 graduates from the country's public universities, many of whom completed school, I beg your pardon, many of whom completed school about 5 years ago, are lamenting that several efforts to secure job opportunities have proven futile. An executive will be with us. I understand they are planning something really interesting to go on a hunger strike starting today. We'll find out how that can solve their problem at all. But let's go into our first issue for the morning, and it has to do with the Presidential Task Force. And I was telling you earlier that the task force is appealing to agents and companies, entities and individuals to report people who claim to have powers from the presidency to clear their goods for them. It has also directed that goods imported through the ports be cleared by consignees within the stipulated time frame of 30 and 21 days for general and perishable goods respectively. The measures the task force noted are geared towards decongesting the country's ports and to eliminate all forms of malfeasance. Dr. Clement Park is presidential staffer and spokesperson for the President's Special Operations Task Force. He will join us over the telephone pretty shortly, and I will talk about this a bit more. Well, I understand we do have him on the phone. Hello, Dr. Park.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning to you too. Let's start by exploring the work of the task force so far.
Well, fair. I'm sure most of your viewers and listeners will remember that the President, John Dramani Mahama, very early on in his administration, decided to build on a process which was started by his predecessor. The former late president, may his soul rest in peace, Professor Mills, had taken a working visit to the port with TV cameras where he openly expressed his frustration and disdain for the levels of malfeasance and the leakages that were present at the ports. Subsequent to that, we also saw a video which was produced by Anas Aremiya Anas, clearly indicating that a lot of siphoning was going on at the ports in terms of revenue mobilization. So President John Dramani Mahama decided to go a step further by establishing the Revenue Mobilization Task Force, which we refer to as the Special Operations Unit, to, one, take the needed measures within the context of working both with and without the recognized state institutions mandated to work at the ports to help ensure that the state does not continue to lose revenue, and also to ensure that at least the levels of congestion are taken care of to facilitate and enhance our international trade. So since then, the task force has been very busy, both at the front end and then at the back end as well. When I say the front end, I refer to surveillance, deploying various informants, doing spot checks, and observing activities at the port in terms of arrivals of containers, scanning of containers, and sometimes even being present when containers are open for inspection. That definitely has yielded some benefit, and the back end is what we have now determined to have been much more of an avenue for defrauding the state compared to some of the front end strategies that fraudsters had been employing. So what has come to light, of course, is the bigger issue of some 290 companies which were deemed to have evacuated their goods from bonded warehouses without paying the needed duties. And the task force has been busy working on that with the help of the CID to track the said companies and also identify specific customs officials who may have compromised their professional duties to allow that to happen.
Dr. Park, the last time we spoke, I think we were still doing that. What exactly have we been able to do rather?
Yes, the bonded warehouse issue is still ongoing. I think I indicated to you last time that it was a process, but I can confirm that, as was reported by the Ghanaian Times yesterday, as a result of the direct intervention of the task force, the state has regained 320 million Ghana cedis, which is getting close to half of the total amount that was deemed to have gone into private pockets or which were not paid by the 290 companies identified not to have paid their duties between 2005 and 2012. So that process is still ongoing, and that is the current figure now. I am sure
320.
Yes, 320 million Ghana cedis. Because remember that originally, the records that we put in the public domain indicated that combined, the 290 companies had sought to defraud the state to the tune of 700 million Ghana cedis. So now, out of that 700 million Ghana cedis, 320 million has been recouped, and the processes are still ongoing.
From how many companies?
From the 290, but we are still cross-checking to identify which ones have paid and which ones have not paid yet. This is just the collective bulk that we've been able to extract from the system. But some of the companies have come forward with what they claim to be receipts to show that they have paid. But we are finding out that those receipts cannot be authentic, because when you pay for your duties, you are assigned a specific number and not a receipt. And so those are matters that the CID is investigating. But more and more of the companies have now accepted the fact that they could have been victims of fraud perpetrated on them by their own company officials in connivance with some unscrupulous customs officers.
So have any arrests been made to that effect?
Well, at this moment, no arrest has been made. And the reason is very simple. This is a project that is in phases. The first phase was more of going after them to retrieve the monies. And then the second phase is to use the outcome of the first phase to then work backwards to prepare the grounds for prosecution. You must remember that many companies came out, and I'm sure that last time we discussed this, many of them came out seeking to deny any wrongdoing. But by virtue of the fact that they are now paying, implicitly, they now agree that something has gone wrong. Now, with that information, we can then go back and identify the specific warehouses where their goods were housed. And that can be cross-checked to find out which specific customs officials were located there when that happened. And that would then make it easier for the CID to pick the said customs officials up and the company officials for due processes and prosecution.
So this second phase, when will we see it take effect?
In fact, it is in motion already.
I see.
Sometime this week or early next week, there is going to be a meeting at which we are going to receive full briefing from the police CID. So it is even quite possible that as we speak, one or two persons may have been hauled in. So I will not be able to be definite until we meet with the CID to get a fuller update. The reason why we are able to report on the amounts that have come in is because when the payments are made, they go into a system, and because we have timelines about when the case came into the public domain and we have the names of the companies, it is much easier for us to look at the totals that have come in, even whilst we wait to look at the specifics and then assign them to specific companies.
Let's talk about the ports now. I remember in a brief period the task force worked there. We seem to have saved us several thousands of Ghana cedis. But one thing disturbing is the fact that people go there and in the name of the presidency clear their goods. How does that happen?
Well, yes, this has come to the attention of the presidency, but I must say that it is not a new development or occurrence. It seems to be the case that over the years, some fraudsters and others who you can best describe as influence peddlers have sought to present themselves as either representing the presidency or being staff of the presidency and or being members of the task force. And of course, when you have situations where people are gullible and are sort of used to cutting corners, such persons have an opportunity to defraud companies, persons, and entities. And that is the more reason why, as part of the communication, we are warning stakeholders in the import-export industry and others who may have any business to transact at the ports to be very much aware of the possibility of persons coming to them, claiming to be who they are not, and then defrauding them. So we are advising stakeholders to immediately contact the nearest law enforcement agencies or police stations to report any persons who may come to them making such claims. And they will then get in touch with us to verify. And we will be able to confirm whether that is the case or not. But be as it may, there is no way that anyone in the presidency should or has the capacity to cause anybody or to give anyone any leverage that would cause a person to circumvent the system or to avoid the payment of duty. If anyone or any entity, be it NGO or whatever, has the need to get any tax exemptions, there are processes that are laid out that you have to follow, and we expect that that will be the case. So we definitely want to caution against anyone who may have such intentions and to warn persons who may become victims of these types of situations not to allow themselves to be taken for a wild ride.
Have you identified any persons who may have engaged in this?
Well, so far we have received some reports, and in fact we have brought this to the awareness of the CID, and some work is being done in the background. But for now, nobody has been apprehended. But we didn't bring forward this information just for the sake of bringing forward information. It is based on credible information that has come to us, indicating that there are some fraudsters in the system who are looking to take advantage of what one may describe as desperation by entities and companies who may find themselves in the type of situation that I've narrated.
I see. And so beyond warning and advice to clearing agents, what measures are you putting in place so that the office of the president is not abused?
Well, one of the ways that we can do that, of course, is to set up a system of information flow. And that is why we are telling members of the public that if anyone comes to you, or if you are an importer or a shipping line, or if you have any dealings at the port and anyone comes to you in the name of the presidency, quite clearly you should be asking for some form of identity. You should try to cross-check, and indeed you should be making a report to the nearest law enforcement establishment to cross-check and verify. But as I said, common sense should also tell you that there are processes involved. And as good citizens, we expect that people would use the right processes and avenues. And they are doable. I mean, I know many persons who have goods which should be tax exempt, and they have gone through the processes and they've been able to clear their goods without paying the needed taxes, because the purposes of which they bring those goods require that they should get some tax exemptions, and that is what we expect people to do. And so we can only act in as far as we have information. And so the first step is to ensure that we have information that can then lead to possible identification and bringing to book of persons who may try to use the name of the presidency for these types of nefarious activities.
This task force we are talking about also has been accused by the traders union of making the whole clearing process very cumbersome. In year 2014, what exactly are you doing about your work at the ports to make sure that the traders do not come up with such accusations?
Well, let me be honest with you. We are dealing with very entrenched forces and interests. And there was an initial attempt to try and vilify and question the integrity and even the justification for the establishment of the task force. We know fully well that, newspaper ads were bought, stories were concocted and put in the public domain, all as a way of trying to negate the existence of the task force, and that has not worked. The work of the task force, quite clearly, is paying dividend and is justifying why the president saw it fit to put the task force into being. And you must remember that when you are dealing with entrenched interests, you are dealing with a system that is very loose and has allowed people to profit from it for several years. Quite clearly, when you have an entity like a task force, which is demanding simply accountability, and for both professionals and business entities to do what is right, you can't expect them to just accept that. So most of those earlier attempts were well orchestrated, and we have become fully aware of that. Because the task force is not domiciled at the ports. I mean, the membership is drawn from professional institutions and backgrounds. So usually what the task force does is that we act based on intelligence because we have some informants there. We act based on spot checks, and then we also go there to observe. So there are no instances where the task force has gone to spend a whole 24 hours there and cause every single container to be open to be inspected. All of that is undertaken by the right institutions and by the right officers. So for anyone to accuse the task force for being responsible for creating congestion is neither here nor there. The congestion also happens largely because customs officials and officials of Ghana Port and Harbours Authority tend to do their work, have become much more diligent in scrutinizing the content of containers because people import desktop computers and they declare them as laptops. I mean, they import laptops and they declare them as desktop computers. And you and I would agree that the value is not the same. When you import flat screen TVs and then you declare them as used clothing and we become aware, we expect that every single container which is within that context must be opened. And these are the reasons why sometimes there are delays. But the delays are caused because we have sometimes so-called reputable companies in this country which are choosing not to do the right thing and are seeking to cheat the system. So when you know that these are practices that are ongoing, you have no choice but to require that containers be opened and inspected. So if the businesses, the importers will do what is right, declare what they have in their containers, and pay the right duties, then there wouldn't be the need for customs officials to open containers and inspect all of them. So these are the real issues on the ground, which sometimes may lead to what is being described as delays and congestion. But it is largely as a result of dishonesty.
Dr. Park, I'm going to thank you very much for your time, and I'm grateful talking to you. Dr. Clementa Park is presidential staffer and spokesperson for the Special Operations Task Force. Still to come on the program, all 83 senior high schools in the 3 northern regions have decided to partially reopen their schools and admit only final year students. What will it take for the first year and second year students to go to school? When can they go to school? We'll find out on the program. Don't go away. Totally grateful you stayed on. Now, the inability of the senior high schools in the 3 northern regions to admit all students on the reopening day is as a result of the non-payment of 2 terms feeding subsidies owed them by the government. The affected schools include 44 in the northern region, 23 in the Upper East region, and 16 in the Upper West region. Over the telephone now is Charles Ahetu Chegan. He's Acting Director General for the Ghana Education Service. Good morning, Charles.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for joining us on News Desk. Hello, Charles.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Right. I understand you're touring the northern region, the schools really. What's your assessment so far?
Actually, I'm not touring the schools. I'm meeting with the different groups of heads of schools in the region.
And what would you say so far has been the results of this?
Well, we are still in some negotiation because originally my visit to the north was not on account of this crisis. I've decided to make this rather my priority and to use my main intention for coming to the north as the second item on my agenda. So this was not planned, but it has become a major issue for me to work on. Now, because of that, I'm not having the opportunity to meet them as a group. So I'm meeting them in their different areas. I've just met with the Upper West people. I missed the opportunity to meet with the Upper East people. Now on my way to the northern region, Tamale, where I have heard the seat of the leadership is. So I believe that is the point where a lot of the future decisions on this situation will be made. And I hope that there will be something more concrete by close of day today.
I see. Charles, you are Director General for the Education Service. You've been meeting with them. I should believe that you've had some concrete conversation to know when, or estimatedly tell us when, the first and second year students can go back to school.
You are asking me to tell you exactly when they will go back to school. Is that a question?
Do we know when we can pay the feeding grant so the students can go back to school?
I cannot say for certain when, because there is a challenge which is a reality, and what we are doing is to look at the situation and within its context and take decisions that will enable us to take and discuss issues that will enable us to take decisions that will address the challenge.
So what is this challenge that has led to non-payment of feeding grant for 2 terms?
Well, honestly, this is not a new challenge. In fact, it has spanned from one government to the other. So let nobody begin to think that it is one that is happening because of this current government. No, that is not the case. The issue of the scholarship is part of a national policy that is designed to support schools in the northern region, the 3 northern regions, in terms of the payment of their feeding fee. So the northern scholarship is used to pay the feeding fee for students in schools in the 3 northern regions. Now, so in terms of the management of that facility, the GES directly does not control that facility. It is controlled by the Scholarship Secretariat. But because the GES is the primary stakeholder, we are in the leadership to ensure that this money is released so that the Scholarship Secretariat can allocate it to the schools so that the schools will continue to function. And that is where our interest really lies, and we are continuously trying to do something to ensure that together with the Scholarship Secretariat, we find an amicable solution to this problem that has been occurring quite too often annually.
I'm happy you mentioned this is not a new problem, because prior to school opening, the 3 northern regions had said if we can't get feeding grants, we cannot admit all the students. At that point, what did the GES do?
At that point, the GES was still in discussion. I mean, this is not money that is in the GES coffers. It is money that comes from government to the Scholarship Secretariat. So we drew attention, and we have received some assurances. And we are hoping that those assurances we can stand by And that is the basis for which we are having a discussion with the heads so that we also meet government somewhere and get a win-win situation for the children.
But Charles, it didn't come across as you had an assurance because you're unsure when this money will be paid, so the first and second year students will go back to school.
You didn't ask me whether I had an assurance. And we have an assurance. We have been assured. The Minister of Finance has assured. Hello?
I can hear you.
Yeah, the Minister of Finance has assured us that it is doing everything that it can. Within a couple of weeks, this situation will be resolved. That assurance we have, and we have taken it seriously, and we are also looking within ourselves to see how we can meet government halfway and get a win-win situation. So that is how we are proceeding in terms of managing this situation.
So how much are we looking at here?
I cannot tell you how much we are looking at, but I can give you a unit cost. I'm not too sure whether I know all the population of students in the schools for now, but the unit cost for each student is 2 cedis 20 pesos for all the schools in the 3 northern regions.
I see. Thank you very much, Charles, for your time. Charles Aheto Chega is Acting Director General for the Ghana Education Service. He tells us in a couple of weeks the Ministry of Finance has promised to release some funds to deal with this problem. And we'll look forward to that. Some of you have been sharing your thoughts with us on our social media platforms, Facebook, Joynews on TV, and I'll be reading some of them soon. But let's talk to Albert Suri. Albert Suri is joining us from the Upper East region. He's a Joynews correspondent who will tell us exactly what's happening there. Hello, Albert.
Hello, Kevin.
What's the situation in the school still?
Well, yesterday it was only the final year students who were asked to report, and junior students to stay at further notice. So the situation is the same. Nothing has changed.
Hello, Albert.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I don't think I got your last words.
Well, I said that what happened was that yesterday only the final year students were asked to return, while the students in the junior classes were asked to stay at home until further notice. So as we speak, the situation is the same. Nothing has changed.
I see. And have you spoken with the authorities, and how do they intend to run this?
Well, many of the heads of the schools have remained very tight-lipped about what's being. As a matter of fact, when you ask a lot of them, they tell you that nothing has been communicated to them as far as, what government has done or what government is doing now is concerned. So what they have actually done, what is currently being done now, asking the final year students to return because, their exams are just around the corner. It's just a stopgap measure that many of the heads of the schools have taken for now. So it is unclear what anybody is doing about it as we speak.
I see. Thank you very much, Albert. Albert Sori joined us from the Upper East region. We'll get to the Upper West region and talk to Rafiq Salam on what the situation is, whether it's any different from the Upper East region. In the meantime, let me read some of your messages that have poured in on our social media platform. Many of you have been commenting on the work of the presidential task force. Let me just share that with you quickly. Kojo Otara Mafo, in responding to our post today, what can government do to prevent leakages at the ports in terms of revenue generation? Kojo Otara Mafo says, who formed the task force? Do we need a task force to deal with this situation? Where are the state institutions paid to work? Emmanuel Briggs says they should reduce importation taxes and stop that dust they're blowing in our eyes. How do you expect us to stop importing things from outside the country while things here are not done well and expensive? McDonald's says, like the sayings go, it started at the time of Adam and Eve, so massa unless God. I see. Emmanuel Jani says, I don't think this is going to work. Oh. Is this some kind of a joke? I don't think so. People who engage in this stuff are not just ordinary people. Even if they are being reported, I bet you You're betting me. That's fine. Such cases would become... Yeah, so why then should you waste your precious time reporting people in higher ranks when we all know that a time loss can never be regained? I do agree a time loss can never be regained, but I don't know how it links to this one. And then Nanaya Osiedu thinks it's a useless venture if he's asked. That's your opinion. Prince Kwame Abuaji says it has brought sanity, but production hasn't improved. Henry Osei says, good move. And I lost it there. But those were your messages. I'll come back with some more of them. Many of you are very passionate about the work of the task force. Many of you actually think that it's not important. State institutions have been established to do this, and they should be allowed to do that. To come on the program also is the fact that some graduates have decided to go on a hunger strike because they want jobs. How that will help create jobs, we'll find out. Don't go away. News desk. And I was telling you earlier that over 100 graduates from the country's public universities, many of whom completed school about 5 years ago, lamented that several efforts to secure job opportunities have proven futile. And so the graduates under the umbrella body, Graduate Initiative Africa, say the Education Ministry and the Ghana Education Service have both failed Ghanaian students. Now, an executive of the group, Prince Chumesi, said government over the years has not given graduates the necessary support. He suggested that since government is unwilling to create the needed platform for graduates to channel their resources, then the government should be ready to empower them. This is the second group of unemployed graduates which has cropped up to fight for job placements in the country. This morning, January 14, 2014, they have decided to assemble at the entrance of the Ministry of Education at the ministries here in Accra and protest by going on a hunger strike. And my colleague Matilda Wemeka is joining them from, she is there with them, but she's not on hunger strike with them, of course, but she's there with them. She'll give us an update on exactly what's happening, on how going on a hunger strike can bring us some good jobs in the country. You and I will find out. But while we wait for Matilda to bring us that feed, let me read some of your messages on the unfortunate incident that has befallen our first and second year students who school in senior high schools in the 3 northern regions. They can't go to school because the Ministry of Education, GES, whoever is giving them those subventions, let's just say government, has not paid the feeding subventions for 2 terms. For 2 terms. And Kuma Daniel says, these are the causes of failures of our institutions. The current government must be up and doing and bring to book all those that are in charge of our institutions. God help Mother Ghana. And Emmanuel Sakara says, illiteracy is killing us. I don't think so. And I don't think it's very fair to our novices. And McDonald says, very bad and sad to hear. Please, JM, do something now. I agree. JM must do something now. Emmanuel Jani says, I think the government should do something immediately because we all know that education is the way now. Those who are educated are even finding life tough. So how much more the dropouts? God bless Ghana and God bless Africa. Here's what we'll do. I'll come back and read some of your messages, but let's take a listen to Rafiq Salam, who brought us an update on this particular issue from the Upper West region.
With the other people, if they also have come, we would have been doing the studies together. But since they are not here, we are feeling so bored. And we are pleading with the government to bring the feeding grants such that they will come in time and join us to do the studies together.
Right, and so that was from the Upper West region, and Barak Hassan, I'm back to your messages really. Second year mode activated. God have mercy. And Benjilo Saptrick says, I cannot believe the NDC any longer. Boasting of building more accessible senior high schools in all communities, they couldn't pay feeding grants for only 83 senior high schools in the Northern region, Upper East and Upper West region. Somebody who cannot manage 83 senior high schools, can you trust him to manage additional 200 senior high schools? Adeng, Minisani, why? NDC, why? Poetic. But Justice A. Kessie says, when NPP was in power, this issue arose, and now it is NDC. This means it is a problem that shouldn't be blamed on party, but we should see this as a problem of the country and tackle it as such. I agree with you. We should tackle it from the source. Al-Hamid Baba Karim says, I was a victim of this mess back in senior high school. The government should get serious and stop the talking everywhere. These kids have 2 years to sit for WASI, and you're joking with them like that. If government can't pay the subsidy, they should scrap it and allow professional educationists to run the educational sector. The politicians are messing us up. The politicians are messing up us. He's very passionate about that. Abusa Jackson Gilanyo says, this is very bad news. I think the government and the Ghana Education Service has to do something about this. Manan Ibrahim says, this is not the first time, but nobody seems to care. Who is responsible for this? Is it intentional? Should it continue like a desperate act? I hope this is the last time it is happening. And Emmanuel Brick says, this is quality education for you. I don't agree. This is not quality education yet. And Courage Alexis says, where are the ministers of education, Nana and her team? I hope they will not talk about this. That's enough of your messages. Let's try again and see if we'll have Wemega, who is spending her morning with over 100 graduates on hunger strike at the entrance of the Ministry of Education in protest of lack of jobs for them and lack of opportunities for them. Chumesi Prince is Corporate Affairs Manager with the Graduates Initiative Africa. He's joined us over the telephone. Hello, Prince.
Hello.
Thank you very much for joining us on News Desk.
Thank you very much.
How's your morning?
Oh, the morning is so refreshing, and we are moving on.
Has the hunger strike started?
We have.
You have? And so
yes.
I assume that you're gathered at the entrance of the Ministry of Education?
Yes, madam.
So what has it yielded so far?
Oh, in actual fact, you realize that everybody's worried about the development on the ground. And we realize that now we are at the entrance of the Ministry of Education. They've come out to speak to us one-on-one, and they are really now getting to understand what is really happening on the ground. So we've not reached anywhere. It's an indefinite hunger strike. We've just started the day, and the day is very young. So I believe that as time unfolds, I will give you a report on that.
Let's not get into why you're doing this.
It's very simple. We have created an avenue for ourselves. Because graduates in this country have been tagged as people who are very lazy and they don't want to do things on their own. So we decided to come with the Graduate Initiative for Africa, GIA, which seeks to really bring our graduates on board for them to be able to start something on their own, which we are doing to bring the spirit of entrepreneurship. So we organize this group that we registered, that we give notifications from the various bodies which are concerned, and we started by member, by contributing whether it's 5 cities, 10 cities, 20 cities to the fund. So we started on campus with the final year students of every university campus in this country. So they started contributing. But most of them, they have moved out of campus because we want to start with those who are about to leave school, not those who are on campus. But we realize that now that they are very far from the various campuses, or even from Accra, we want Controller and Accountant General Department to really mechanize the deduction of these allowances from the National Service personnel. So we wrote a letter to the National Service Secretariat. We went there to petition them about this. so that they will open an avenue for us. They will realize that they spend their best years on this.
So
they don't really understand us as to why we want to really do. Were you saying something?
Yeah, I just wanted to find out what avenue do you hope is created for you?
Now, the avenue that will be created for us is that now that we want to create the spirit of entrepreneurship. So when you contribute that money into the fund, after your 9 months of national service, you come with a winning proposal. Then you'll be given a fund to start your own business. So when you are in 3 or 4 in a group, you are empowered. But you are empowered and you do it well, you can now roll in others. That's what we are doing. And in our case, we want to turn it to be underemployment. You see, we are not just graduates who are looking on the streets crying that they should give us jobs. We have created one. And by creating one, it means that we will empower others to also create jobs. That's what we are doing. We just want the intervention of the government or the Ministry of Education to give that ultimatum or to give that reason to National Service Secretary to understand us and roll us on board. That's the only thing we are agitating for. We are not saying they should give us jobs. No. That's not what we are agitating for.
You want the Education Ministry to roll you on board?
Yes, because
how do you mean?
Like I said earlier on, you are a worker, and at the end of the month, you are given a pay slip. It is the pay slip that shows that you are really working at an institution and you are paid. So, like we buy things on high purchase, we are saying that they want to pay the money voluntarily and they should remove it at source. So your employers...
Prince, here's what we're going to do. We'll talk about this more, but we'll end our conversation here at the moment. But
okay.
All the best in the meantime. We'll talk about this again. Thank you very much. Prince Chumesi is Corporate Affairs Manager for the Graduate Initiative Africa. Obviously, he says we have employable skills. We already have the money. We are entrepreneurs, but we want avenues. We'll get into that in subsequent broadcasts. You don't want to miss out on this hunger strike issue. Thank you very much for staying through the show this morning. My name is Kimini Nyamani Amano. It was good to see you again. Bye.